I'm Mike.
Hi, and I'm Laura.
Welcome back to our third episode of Wading into Retirement. So, this week we decided that we were going to discuss a minimalist lifestyle. We kind of came to that conclusion. It's something we've been doing for a year, if not more, because one of the things we were considering was a big move. And if we did do that big move, we wanted to have less things and be prepared for it, not have us caught off guard. And kind of came to the conclusion that lots of things are just lots of things, and they tend to cause more anxiety than they're worth.
Well, and to your point, we did start to prepare a little while ago, and we put our standard 3-bedroom, couple of bath house on the market, and it sold very quickly. And that meant moving, and we had to move twice. So we moved to a storage facility, and then we knew we were going to have to move into a house from there. And we decided to move into a much smaller house.
Yeah, so we had no choice but to get rid of some things. Although, if I do recall, you weren't around when we moved, and I moved everything.
Yes, and when we moved to your parents, they promptly moved for a 3-week vacation down east too. So it was kind of a busy time for us. But I do think that doing that move actually helped us to declutter and start to downsize, because when we started packing, we had a box for what is going to go that I would wrapped up and put in the back room ready to move. I had a box for what are we going to donate, and we made the decision that we weren't going to sell any of the smaller stuff. We just didn't want that headache and that hassle. And then we had the box for just throwing out and getting rid of. And things kind of hop from box to box depending on what we were doing as well.
Yeah. So again, nothing says love like your parents leaving their own house when you move in. So I think there were kind of three buckets of things that we were looking at specifically. So why don't you walk us through what those 3 buckets were?
Well, I think the first bucket was, as we talked about, going from a large house and a large footprint to a much smaller house. So we had a few thousand square feet for just the 2 of us and the 2 dogs. And then this house is just a little over 1,000 square feet. And the reasons behind that were really to lower our costs as well. When you're heating a big old farmhouse, even if you're using multiple heat sources up here in Canada, air conditioning is the same way. It costs money. And we dropped our heating bills from several thousand a year to much smaller. Like I would say we cut it by 2/3?
Yeah, probably 50% less. Yeah.
And then also with that, your insurance goes down. So when you're looking for replacement value on a large home, it's a lot. And then on a much smaller home, we're in a 1-bed, 1-bath home, it's a lot less as well. And we also ended up moving closer to town. So gas, car insurance, things like that also had a factor into it as well.
So that was the first bucket. So what was the second bucket we were focusing on?
That was getting rid of, remember, the luxury items, and we're still kind of going through that. We have a 3rd car that's a fun car, and currently we're looking to sell that, but we really got rid of a lot of those additional things that we didn't really need. Like you had how many bikes?
Not enough.
Yeah, but how many bikes? And you're still down to at least 2.
I still didn't have enough.
So anyway, we did start to look at those types of things. And with those luxury items, there are added costs. Like with the 3rd car, there's gas, there's insurance, trailers, 4-wheelers. Not that we had all of this stuff, but that kind of was the bucket that I was looking at. Where can we start to get rid of? And in that bucket is some of the intangible things. Like I had a yoga membership that I didn't use, so I made sure not to renew it. We had Netflix, Prime, Crave. We were looking at Disney Channel. We had BritBox. Like, we don't watch a lot of TV. Do we need all of these things? Because they all have renewals and they all have added costs that continue to go up and up and up. second, having a home phone line as opposed to having a cell phone line. Those types of things really added into our budget that we also managed to decrease too.
You forgot about Apple TV.
Yes, yes. Well, and even with your bikes, you had your Garmin watch, which you still have, but you had software, you had a monitor, we had a whole system set up for that, which I know you miss. But still in all, it was a lot of added just stuff. So I think the third bucket was the hardest though once we got to that point. And that's really your house and garage contents. And
yeah, that's really the nitty gritty. That's your everyday items. Do you have too much of it? Where is it? Can you find it when you need it?
well, and it goes back to when we moved. We were able to do some of that, but we still moved far too much, I think, anyway. So when we did end up coming to the new house, we started to look at where can we put things? Where can things go? And we thought we've got to have some sort of strategy or some sort of plan to start doing that. And I think that's when I started taking little design courses on designing of small spaces and minimalist. And there's a lot of stuff out there on YouTube and Pinterest and even Udemy. There's lots of information on how to design small spaces and decluttering. So what we ended up doing at that point was kind of coming up with a plan. We looked at the layout of the house, and it is very small, and we started going, okay, this room's going to be for this room's going to be for that, and started pairing, okay, what are we going to put in each room, and looking at what was our favorite stuff. So I know I started in my head going, do I love this? Do I really need this? And have I used this in the last 6 months to start placing things where they needed to go?
It's so easy to look at an item and think, yeah, but I'll use that again. And in reality, you might use it again, but is it worth storing it for all that time until you use it again?
Well, and it's hard to give up certain things because we still have a big family. So we do have family dinners. I had 3 crock pots. So I gave a sister one. I have the other ones at the cafe, which my sister has. And even like 9x13 Pyrex cooking pans. I haven't gotten rid of everything. I'm not going to lie. I still have 2 sets of measuring spoons and 2 sets of measuring cups. But there were some really tough decisions there. Actually, we're sitting at a brand new table because I loved my harvest table. We picked it out and it came with us, but it was really just too big for the space.
So one of the downsides to having less space and being a minimalist is you have to use each space for multiple purposes. So we sit here today kind of at our dining room table / kitchen table in the room that we also watch TV in, where in an ideal world, if we had a bigger house, I would have this whole recording thing set up permanently in one area of the house such that we just had to sit down to record. But we can't do that now. Each time we do it, it's kind of moving everything back and forth and clearing off the table so it's not in view of the camera. So those are the downsides to being a minimalist, is you don't have that extra room to set something up in a permanent fashion.
No, that's true. And the stuff that you do have in the room, it pretty much stays in that space and you just add or subtract depending on the functionality. So I think, when we started looking at the spaces, we tried to say, okay, this is the living room, this is the kitchen, this is the dining area, this is our multi-purpose room, which is upstairs. And then the next step, I think, was to get everything off the floor to make cleaning a lot easier, like except the dogs. So for, all those cute little baskets and the little dog toys in cute little baskets, all of that had to go. And any furniture that really didn't belong, like that we weren't using, that was just more of an aesthetic thing, we moved those. And our flat surfaces, most of them are empty. We have 1, 2, or 3 items kind of on the outside. And like you said, many serve multi-purposes for the different functions that we're using. I found that we had a lot of doubles too. which we were careful not to move. In a bigger home, you're used to having like a linen closet. So I had a full shelf of towels. We've downsized to what can fit in one basket. And then we have the dog towels for, this kind of springtime muddy weather. So being very conscious of that.
So a question for you, when we're talking about the 3 buckets, where do the dogs fit? Are they a luxury item?
It feels like it. And there's certainly something that lays on the floor as one of them is laying at our feet. But you're right, I would consider them kind of a luxury item because they do come with their own set of stuff. And
Well, they're very expensive when you add up their food, their vet bills, just the day-to-day flea and tick medicine, all of that kind of stuff. It's a huge invest. Yes, we just had one of them groomed. So there was another $120 for a hair shampoo. I could have done that cheaper.
Yeah, but she wouldn't look as cute.
Yeah. So I think one of the struggles I had with the decluttering when we looked at the room by room thing was that our kitchen, nothing is ever in the same place for 2 weeks in a row. So Laura has this way of saying, oh, this will be where we will put the measuring cups today. That doesn't mean that's where they're going to be tomorrow. So as I do dishes now, I end up just putting things on the counter because I honestly don't know where they're supposed to go, even though it makes sense in your head, but you move it 10 times. So it only made sense for the time it was sitting there, not the other 9 times. That was a growing pain that we go through and we continue to go through because I still can't find anything in my house, even though we don't have as much stuff anymore.
It's true, because that was one of the areas that I thought would be easy to tackle first. I looked at the enclosed spaces. So things like your closets. I downsized my wardrobe easily by 50% and started to say, okay, if I haven't worn it in 6 months, it's gone. You've always been minimalist with your wardrobe and even with your shoes. But I think we can honestly say that was not me. Like I had way too many things. So
I'm not arguing.
No, he's being very quiet and rightly so. So I have actually moved into every season being in one closet. And I'm very mindful of the things that I'm buying. I looked at also minimalist wardrobes to make sure that, I wasn't buying things. So I started the closets first, cleaning those out. Then I moved into the kitchen and I started getting rid of the doubles, except for the measuring cups and measuring spoons, getting rid of any food that was expired or that we hadn't used in 6 months. It was all gone. Even my spice drawer, I'm a spiceaholic. It was a full drawer and a full rack, and I'm down to half a drawer and a much smaller rack. So we're slowly getting, and then of course, once you do all of that, you have to go back and do it again and do it again and do it again. But I think it will get us to the right spot that we'll need to be if we decide to sell this house or rent it or Airbnb it. It's going to have less things. We're going to have less to deal with and less to move. So when you look at it from that point of view, it's been a lifestyle change, one that we'll want to keep up. But I think the longer term goal is it setting us up for a better spot in retirement. Because, we've talked condos even, how much stuff do we actually need?
And even if we don't move, having less things just creates less anxiety. That's what we've come to that conclusion. And so to maintain it, I mean, we don't buy anything new to bring into the house unless something is exiting. So it's kind of that 1-for-1 deal now. Maybe we'll even get better at that ratio at some point, but it's true. That's the plan now. So, I mean, I've consciously noticed if you go into a homeware store, you might say, oh, look, those dish towels, those are really cute, but do we really need another set of dish towels, right?
Well, especially for the seasonal stuff. And I've learned a new term, and it's called negative space. So it's really hard when I have open space not to want to fill it. But now having had some open space and cleared off counters, I'm not sure that I would actually go back to it. And even less patterns. We've gone more solids. it just makes for a much more restful atmosphere, I think.
Yeah. So it does tie into our theme of figuring out what it's going to look like when we do retire, because this is just a small component leading up to it that we think will set us up for success when the time comes. So we'll leave you with this thought for the day. Gauge your winning by the extent of your progress and never by the objects in your closet.
Which are now down by 50%.
There. So again, thank you for watching. We hope you subscribe. Things are going very well on that front. We want to keep getting more and more subscriptions. And we have some exciting episodes coming up as well. We're doing a little bit of travel coming up soon. So we will we'll have some cool videos from a new location.
And I think we should also do a couple of these types of episodes because we have really been looking at different things that tie into our wish list of where we're moving next. So stay tuned for those topics as well.
That's all.